Hey guys, it's July 22nd, a Tuesday, and it is a big news day. We're going to go over the top five, yes, 5 news stories of the day, and we have some big ones. But as a reminder, if you haven't yet, sign up for my Substack. Every Friday, you get additional content, another video. And then on Tuesdays, tonight, we have a roundtable, a great community. Highly recommend it. All right, let's just get started. The number one news story of the day, sadly, is Ozzy Osbourne, the legendary musician. And I guess he had a reality TV show. He died at the age of 76. Was he vaxxed? I don't know. I don't think that had anything to do with it. He was 76, which is pretty old. And I don't think he lived necessarily a clean life. He did a lot of drugs and alcohol. And he lived the ideal of what a rock star is. So to make it to 76, that's pretty damn good. And he had Parkinson's disease. Typically, you don't die from Parkinson's directly, but indirectly. Sometimes you get pneumonia. And if you're going to have to die, pneumonia is probably the best way to go. You just go to sleep and die. Ozzy with Black Sabbath, he sort of defined the heavy metal genre in 1968, and he had a huge influence. And obviously, he had a lot of controversy when he bit the bat's head off, and he had the reputation of being a Satanist. But he later came out and said, no, I'm not a Satanist. His quote was, "I'm not a Satanist. I'm just a rock and roller who likes to shock people." So a lot of it was kind of tongue in cheek, is theater. You have the pentagram, the darkness, the goth look. But he was huge in the industry. He helped define an industry, heavy metal. And it's sad just because this is another passing. These were all the pioneers of modern rock music, and they're all getting old and they're all dying. It's like an era is going away. So rest in peace, Ozzy. And I don't think we'll see anyone like him again. So that is obviously the number one news story. I couldn't do something political. I had to do that for number one. All right, number 2 is a shocker. This whole thing with Obama and the whole Russiagate and how it was all fake. Remember, I said, this sounds like treason. But you're like, oh, Ramsey Paul, you're just a YouTuber. You do streams. You do like shocking things. Well, I'm not the only one who says it's treason. Let's listen to Trump. Here we go.
Perspective. Who should the DOJ target as part of their investigation? What specific figures in the Obama administration?
And just to remember, this was after President Trump won in 2016 over Hillary. Hillary allegedly worked with Obama and people in the FBI to try to frame Trump by planting fake evidence about Russia. It came out especially when the DNC emails were leaked that showed that Hillary cheated Bernie. Remember that? And it was obvious if you could see how WikiLeaks, they said they would give a reward to whoever killed Seth Rich. Obviously, Seth Rich was the guy that leaked the emails, but Hillary got the idea it was Russia, and somehow Trump told Russia to hack in the DNC emails. It was all a lie, but this is what they pushed, and this was the basis of an impeachment. It was basically a coup attempt. And as I said at the time, this is basically treason. Not basically, it is treason. So let's hear what President Trump has to say.
Well, based on what I read, and I read pretty much what you read, it would be President Obama. He started it. And Biden was there with him, and Comey was there, and Clapper. The whole group was there.
The whole gang.
Brennan, they were all there in a room.
It'd be fun to see all of these people get arrested.
Right here. This was the room. This is much more beautiful than it was then, but that's okay.
That's a lot more gaudy, but whatever.
I have nice pictures up. They came out of the vaults. They were in there for 100 years. This is much more beautiful. We have the Declaration of Independence now in the room.
All right, get back on track, Trump. He's going on about how pretty the room is now.
Wasn't here. I guess people didn't feel too good about putting it here, but I do. But you know what? If you look at those papers, they have them stone cold, and it was President Obama. It wasn't lots of people all over the place. It was them too. But the leader of the gang was President Obama, Barack Hussein Obama. Have you heard of him? And except for the fact that he gets shielded by the press for his entire life, that's the one they look. He's guilty. It's not a question. You know, I like to say, let's give it time. It's there. He's guilty. This was treason.
That's huge. Treason. So Obama, President Trump is saying committed treason. He's saying there's no doubt they have the evidence that Tulsi found the documentation of this treason.
This was every word you can think of. They tried to steal the election. They tried to obfuscate the election. They did things that nobody's ever even imagined, even in other countries. You've seen some pretty rough countries. This man has seen some pretty rough countries, but you've never seen anything like it.
So that's pretty serious charges from Donald Trump. He's saying that Obama is guilty of treason and the people around him. And let's get this done. Another perspective of this we'll look at. Can Obama claim presidential immunity for his treason he committed?
Next. And if you don't mind, could you narrow it down to Comey, Clapper, Brennan, and Barack Obama? Will Barack Obama be able to claim presidential immunity on this? Can you claim presidential immunity if you're committing a crime?
He might be able to claim presidential immunity for his actions while he was the president of the United States, and they'll have to litigate that, right? That it's unclear whether he'll ultimately get presidential immunity for this. But I'll tell you this, it's an ongoing criminal conspiracy, and presidential immunity covers his actions while he's the president of the United States. They don't cover his actions when he's the former president of the United States. And when he's participating in the cover-up of this conspiracy, then he doesn't have presidential immunity.
Yeah, the presidential immunity, by the way, I don't think it would necessarily cover. People said that because Trump claimed that, but that was within, you're doing something within the role, not something outside of the role. The Supreme Court ruled, like, for example, if you're president and you rob a liquor store, that wouldn't happen. But let's say they did. You couldn't claim presidential immunity because that's outside of doing stuff as the president. But Obama, even if he gets presidential immunity, afterwards, if he continued with this conspiracy to try to impeach and overthrow Trump based on evidence they knew was fake and was planted by the FBI, then he's not covered by immunity.
Can you explain what the statute of limitations is here, Mike? Is there any worming, snake slithering wiggle room here? Are there any technicalities that they're going to be able to hide under a rock? Over.
Yeah, remember this back in 2016, you had President Obama and then Vice President Joe Biden and Clapper and Comey and Brennan and so many other goons make up the Russian collusion hoax.
That's the key thing. It's not like they just believed in it wrongly, because that's one thing is you were wrong about something. You truly believe that Trump was working with Putin to hack the DNC server or whatever, but they knew that wasn't the case. They were lying to you as the American public. They were planting evidence.
They worked with the Hillary's campaign, the DNC, the Steele dossier.
And why isn't Hillary in prison? That bitch should have been in prison long ago.
You had Perkins Coie law firm. You made up the Steele dossier. You made up the Russian collusion hoax. You said you were lying. You said that the Trump and his campaign were colluding with the Russians to steal the 2016 election. You fed this to the FISA court as bogus evidence. So you lied to the FISA court. You got an illegal spy warrant from this federal court.
Yeah, people forget that the president of the United States, Donald Trump, when he was running for office, they did an illegal listening to him. They were spying on him. This is like 100 times worse than Watergate and Nixon.
You spied on then presidential candidate Donald Trump. You continued to spy on Donald Trump when he was the president of the United States. You used his own FBI and his own CIA and other intel agencies to hobble his presidency. I remember when I went to the Senate Judiciary Committee at the beginning of his administration in 2017, and everyone was running around, including Senate Republicans, saying that Trump is a Russian asset because of this Russian collusion hoax. They destroyed his many parts of his first term. Now, it was still wildly successful because Trump is such a strong leader, but look what we're seeing now compared to his first term, and look at how much he's accomplishing now compared to his first term. That's what they were trying to prevent in his first term. His monumental accomplishments over the last 6 months, they tried to hobble the first time. And you talk about the statute of limitations, Ben. Generally, the statute of limitations for federal felonies is 5 years. So you say, oh, this was 2016, we're well beyond the statute of limitations. Guess what? You're not, because this is an ongoing criminal conspiracy. When you conspire, in order for the conspiracy to stop, you have to disavow the conspiracy. The ends of the conspiracy have to end. They haven't. They are covering up the conspiracy. They are perjuring themselves. We saw perjury by high-ranking Obama officials during this ongoing criminal conspiracy. I think it was in 2022. So we're well within the statute of limitations. And I would say to these Biden Democrats, justice is coming. I would be very, very scared if I were you. I don't think we'll put you in Mike Davis's gulag, the Viceroy's gulag, as we joke, as we troll. But justice is definitely coming, and I think the Bureau of Prisons will have plenty of space for these people.
I hope President Obama, wherever he lives now, that's raided, just like Donald Trump was raided, is his home. There needs to be a raid on Obama. He needs to be arrested as well as Hillary. They can have their day in court. But this whole thing, oh, don't you miss the days of Obama? There are no scandals. We're talking the greatest scandal in American history. Barack Obama, based on what Trump is saying, they have really good evidence. He was trying to commit a coup, trying to prevent the results of election by planting fake evidence and working with the CIA. Horrible, horrible. So this is a story when it originally broke. I said, this is going to be a big one. And it looks like it is. We're just getting more and more information on it. And I hope Pam Bondi and the Trump administration has the balls to follow through and arrest these criminals. It needs to happen. We need a clear house. All right. Speaking of criminals, we'll look at our next thing here. And this is Maxwell. This is getting back to Epstein. Maxwell was Epstein's associate. And so let's just take a look here, because there's been a lot of pressure on Trump and the administration to have some more transparency about this. And Congress has, well, let's take a look here.
Hey everybody, Tim Burchett, just leaving oversight subcommittee, government operations. Hey brother, asked some questions to about the GAO, their bid process, but the important thing was that I did a motion to direct the chairman of the full committee to authorize and issue a subpoena for Delane Maxwell to appear before a deposition.
That'd be great. Maxwell to appear before Congress and spill all. I don't know if she'll take the Fifth Amendment, but I mean, she's already convicted, so maybe she will talk.
And that's it right there. I had it printed out, so I made sure I do it appropriate. Talked to Chairman Comer. He's down with it. We're good. I believe he's going to issue the subpoena. He's a stand-up guy. We just got to get to the bottom of this thing, folks. It's just, it's 4 years, and we don't need to tolerate this stuff anymore. And I'm getting, I get the blowback about folks up here going to be mad at me, but ultimately,
why would they be mad? Why should anyone be mad about the truth? This is where it's getting weird. Say if it is nothing, it's all a hoax, then it doesn't really hurt, right? Just have her testify. But I think the reason is, if I had to guess, is they're trying to shield not Donald Trump. He was never on the island. I don't believe he used any of the services of Epstein or anything like that. Trump's not a pedophile. He has his issues, but that's not one. But I think the problem is, and a lot of the senators like Tom Cotton of my state are worried. When you think of Tom Cotton, what do you think? You don't think senator from Arkansas. You think of a guy that simps for Israel. That's all he cares about. And he's real against having all this be revealed. And so that leads me to believe there's information that Israel was involved with Epstein and his little annex. And that brings up why. Was it a blackmail operation or what? Israel, by the way, officially says they weren't involved. And they're very honest people. So maybe that's the case.
And with all sincerity, excuse me, I'm going to answer my creator on this issue and what we did about the least amongst us. And we got to send a message to these dirtbags that do this. This is not acceptable behavior. And also a message to the victims that we believe you and that we need to come out of the shadows, and we need to bust these people that do this and send them to hell, because I'm over it. Anyway, before I get myself in any more trouble, thank y'all for sending me here.
So that was, let's see here. That was Representative James Comer. And I think this should be pretty good. And this was, well, no, that wasn't. This is Tim Burchett. Sorry about that. But so we are going to get some information from that. And let's look at Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's also talking about this a little bit. And we will see. Now, Congress has disbanded until September. They got the hell out of town. So they're trying to delay this. But let's listen to Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Because of Epstein in there. And what was your reaction to it? Well, we have to wait for the courts to apply to be in bonding with her request to unseal that information. Unfortunately, no one can speed that up. So are you okay with the pause for now before the Republican resolution is voted on? I think it's the right thing to do. I think everyone wants to see, the information that was sealed away. I think the American people want to see it. I'm a co-sponsor of Thomas Jackson's resolution. I'm all for voting on it. I'm all for transparency. So, but we just have to be a little patient for it.
So I'm not going to watch the whole thing. It's 15 minutes, but she's for all this transparency. And I think that's what everyone wants. If nothing's there, like Trump says, it's a hoax. Okay, well, let's show that then. Although strange, because I assume if Maxwell was convicted for sex trafficking, there had to be some clients, right? Who were the clients? Do they not know? Do they know? There's something sounds like it's missing. But if it isn't, just get it in the open and say, well, no, actually there wasn't anything. That's fine too. So I think that's the number 3 big story is Maxwell's going to be subpoenaed. Well, we will see if she chooses to testify. I think she may, because she's already in prison. Maybe they can get a deal with her. And I think that would be interesting, who she can explain the operation, because Epstein used Maxwell to get some of the girls, maybe some of the clients too. We will see. Maybe she can give insight. Was it bigger than just Epstein? Was he working with a foreign power? What were they doing? What was the motivation? Was it just Epstein had liked young girls and he liked to share them with his friends, or was it something deeper? And so that's the number 3 story is Maxwell has been subpoenaed. All right. The number 4 story, and this is good. Trump has withdrawn the U.S. from UNESCO. And the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, it was established in 1945, supposedly to promote international cooperation in education, science, and culture and communication, blah, blah, blah. It was done in the aftermath of World War II. It's to foster peace, development, and human rights. Yeah, whatever. It sounds mostly like bullshit. It was established in Paris. And then it kind of evolved into they counter extremism through education. And extremism is stuff like white people wanting our homelands. That's considered extremism, right? So it's a very corrupt organization. But interesting is recently Trump got pissed off because they started to be more sympathetic to the Palestinians. I mean, they've always been anti-white and anti-American, but that's okay. But don't go against our little buddy. And that's what it was about. So Trump said, hey, we're going to pull out of this organization. And he cited, because it is anti-American, but he also mentioned Israel. It's like, can't we do something that's just good for us? Why do we always have to use Israel as a proxy? Right? We just can't say, hey, we don't want to be part of this organization because it's anti-American. Full stop. We don't need any other explanation. But it's like, well, we want to get out because it's anti-American, but it's also anti-Israel. It's okay. See, we're not racist. Oh, no, they're anti-Semitic because they don't think the Israelis should be able to butcher the Palestinians. Oh, they're God's people. They always have to throw that in. It's so frustrating. And just as a historical context, the United States, because we're always the suckers of the world, we gave about 22% of their budget, roughly $80 million a year in 2011. That's money we don't have. And again, they just do shit lips things. And the funding was cut, and then it was restored under Biden. And Biden promised to pay over $600 million in back dues. That's like $500 billion. Biden was a disaster. But Trump, thank God, is putting the end to this stuff. And again, he's using the fig leaf, not so much because it's bad for America, but it's bad for Israel. It's sad we have to do everything based on what's good for Israel, even Trump. I wish we'd get over that. So that's the number 4 story of the day. And the number 5 story of the day, this is a continuing problem. Trump's doing good with illegal immigration, but he's really got to step down on this H1B scams. H1B is a scam where they bring in, it's mostly Indians to replace American jobs. H1B was put in at a time that supposedly there was a shortage of tech workers. And if companies couldn't get an American to do the job, they could go to India. All the tech companies, I was part of them, they lie, they break the law, they say they can't get any American workers, which is a lie, and they bring the Indians in because they're cheapers. And we're seeing this right now, according to this data. H1B visas and H4 visas now capture 82% of all new U.S. tech jobs. And again, if you're in computer science or programming, all this type of stuff, it's almost impossible to get a job as an American because they get these Indians that come over, and most of them have scam credentials. And then once one Indian comes over, they have a lot of nepotism. They get all their cousins, and it's a disaster. And it's not really compatible with our country. I'm not against India. Those people should be in India, making India a great country. We don't need them over here. And I feel sorry for young guys, especially that did what they're told. They didn't go in for a stupid college degree like communications or something. They actually went in for a STEM job. They worked hard, good grades, and now they can't get hired because of DEI. But now you have another DEI to give these jobs to Indians. It's outrageous. We need to rectify this. It's tough. I mean, sometimes women get in easier because they kind of count for DEI, and then a lot of the hiring managers think, hey, maybe I can bang these young girls. But for guys, it's a lot harder. So we need to get rid of this. And it's just more than tech. We had the whole scam. Like, you ever notice why all the hotel chains are owned by Indians? It's not because they work harder. It's because your tax dollars went to give special advantages, more money to Indians to start hotel ownership over a white guy. So if you're a white guy and you're trying to get a loan from the government to open a hotel chain, you're not going to get it. But if you're Indian, you will. We need to stop that. The Indians that have these hotel chains, we got to say, sorry, this was based on fraud against our people. We got to pull it back, make them pay reparations, send them back home, and then give our people these jobs. And the hotels will smell a lot better. That's for sure too. So this is what we need to do. So this is the number 4 story. So those are the top 5 stories of the day. Just as a review, number 1, Ozzy Osbourne dead at 76. There's no official cause of death, but he's 76, had Parkinson's. I would imagine he had pneumonia or something. Number 2, Trump came out and accused Obama of literal treason based on the Russian Gate hoax. Number 3, Maxwell, the associate that's in prison that worked with Epstein, Tim Burchett said they're going to subpoena her to the Congress. And number 4 is Trump has withdrawn the U.S. from UNESCO. That's an organization that was primarily anti-American. But then when they became anti-Israel, that was a bridge too far. It's one thing to be against Americans and white people. We can tolerate that. But don't you ever be against Israel. And number 5 was more information about the HB1 disaster, how they're replacing American jobs by lying about the situation. Trump and his people, they need to get on top of this. We do not have a shortage of tech workers. I hope people can get to Trump and tell him that. Unfortunately, people like Vivek, obviously he likes his people from India, and even Elon Musk, like the H1B program, gave him cheaper labor. So hopefully someone can explain to Trump. Trump is older, he's almost 80 years old, can help explain why this is a bad program. So guys, thank you so much. And as always, if you like the show, please like and subscribe. I really do appreciate it. And I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.